Zoning meeting of February 23rd to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes. Here.
Commissioner Huber,
Here.
Commissioner Lang, Commissioner Lang,
Here.
Commissioner Mutter,
Here.
Mayor Freilich,
Here.
Commissioner Infeld,
Here.
Commissioner McLean,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Hammond,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner,
Here.
Commissioner Renner,
Here.
Chair Robinson.
Here. First item, we have the minutes of our December 22nd meeting. Do we have any changes or questions?
I can move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Hammond to approve the minutes of December 22nd. Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. Minutes are approved. And I know you're not in the room, but I'd like to welcome Commissioner Lang to Mandan Planning and Zoning.
Thank you.
And first public hearing. Item number 1, consider a request for a special use permit for shop condos for Lot 1, Block 1, Cybele subdivision.
Hi, good evening, Commission members. My name is Dave Viosna. I'm a planner with Interstate Engineering. I'm kind of filling in for Rachel tonight, who you usually see. I work on a lot of Mandan stuff with her, but usually I'm kind of behind the scenes. So tonight's kind of my first time being here in person, so thank you for having me. So for my first item, we've got the request for special use permit for shop condos for Lot 1, Block 1 of the Cybele subdivision. So Jason Cybele of Dakota Mini Storage requested consideration of a special use permit for shop condos at Lot 1, Block 1, Cybele subdivision, and that's at 902 Missouri Drive Northeast. The property is zoned CC, Commercial Light Industrial, and is also within the Gateway Overlay District. The property is currently vacant, has a total area of 2.34 acres, and access is provided via Missouri Drive. The application, which you can see on your screens here, has about 7 shop condos of 800 square feet each, and then 1 larger shop condo of 4,000 square feet. And the remainder of the property would be used for 46 traditional storage units. There are 9 parking spaces provided for the shop condos. The application states that it would be in line with requirements of the Gateway Overlay District. The shop condos would be for personal use, would not require additional lighting, and would provide sufficient off-street parking spaces. The Gateway Overlay District requires landscape buffers, and the exhibit that we've been reviewing does have some evident landscape buffering along the south and west sides of the property, consisting of a mix of evergreen and deciduous trees. By our calculations, they would need what's called 5 buffer points because it's in the Gateway Overlay District, but we kind of are unable to determine if that landscaping that's on there would fulfill some of those buffer yard and screening requirements. But any final buffer yard or planting plan would require approval of Mandan Architectural Review Commission. So we don't necessarily need to go into the weeds on that tonight. Multi-use shops are regulated by city ordinance. There's a number of regulations in there, but just a few. The use of what they intend to put in there is supposed to be declared. And there also needs to be a minimum number of off-street parking. And the application stated that they would be for personal use, but not necessarily whether those would be commercial or what's called accessory to residential. Let's see. Adjacent property zoned R7 across Mandan Avenue. Property to the south is zoned CC and is currently developed as storage units. And then property to the east and north is right of way for I-94. And the future land use plan designates this area as commercial. So for our review, we noted that we would need a detailed landscape plan to determine proper buffering and other landscape requirements are being met, a declaration of intended uses, and a condominium agreement. Let's see. So our recommendation that if approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, the applicant would provide a more detailed building and landscaping plan and declare uses for what's going to go in the shops, and then a condominium agreement prior to City Commission review of the application. And with that, our recommendation is we recommend approval of the special use permit for shop condos for Lot 1, Block 1, Seibold subdivision, with the requirement that the applicant provide detailed building and landscaping plan and declares uses for the multi-use shops, and provides a condominium agreement, and your suggested motion is in your packet, if there are no questions.
Questions for Dave?
I have one question. Chair Robinson and Dave, if you would, are the storage units allowed under the CC zoning? So is it really just the shop condo aspect that we're being asked to consider?
Correct,
Clarify
yeah,
that?
just your traditional storage units are fine. It's the permit would be just for the shop condo portion.
Any other questions?
Yeah, there's the Gateway Overlay District. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so the Gateway Overlay District covers areas kind of adjacent to I-94 and a couple of other areas within Mandan. And the idea there was that there would be kind of increased standards so that you're driving into town, say, that the properties along those corridors would, be up to a certain aesthetic standard so that it looks nice, essentially.
Any other questions?
I have a question, Chair Robinson. Dave, do we have any comments or feedback back on this project?
On the Seibel one, I don't believe we did.
Chair Robinson, I guess my question is do we have a deadline or anything about, and I'm looking at the landscaping and stuff like that. I just hate to see this keep coming back and back and back because we approved something, but yet some of it we didn't approve of is going to come back to us and haunt us later down the line. I'm thinking of another shop condo that we've
Just
had major
recently.
discussions about, and so that's what I'm a little bit concerned about. Thank you.
That's a fair question, but is this motion set up for the city staff to make that approval?
For the landscaping portion, that would have to go to Mark, so it would kind of be on them to decide whether that's sufficient.
Any questions before I open it up?
Just one other question. So I've been dealing with Bismarck today on a sale of a property that's kind of south of Burley and in Bismarck, Burley and Washington. And one of the things that they've been the planning team over there has been concerned about is a separation between using it for storage versus commercial space. And one of the things I thought was really interesting, and I hadn't gotten to the bottom of it, why, is that they're not allowing personal storage, but they're allowing commercial usage. And so it got me wondering, what is it about personal storage that that is less attractive to them, and maybe it's the mix of it but I don't know if you had any comments on that, but just the sense that this is personal storage or storage units, I just was wondering is there anything to comment about that being, is there any issues you see?
I don't foresee any. I think with the Gateway Overlay District, with their kind of screening and buffering requirements, their idea there was they want to make sure that whatever's kind of along the highway, it's, attractive, and if it's not, then it's screened kind of from view.
Chair Robinson, I guess this Gateway Overlay District must have happened since the storage units south of there were already built, because there's no buffer zone there whatsoever. So if this part here has to have some kind of a buffer zone, but right south of it doesn't, does that play into what Mark is going to use to determine? I know you can't speak for Mark, but is that going to be something that Mark is going to look at and maybe be a little bit more lenient with this, being there is nothing to the storage units right south of here?
Yeah, like you said, I really couldn't speak to what Mark's decision could be, and unfortunately I couldn't tell you kind of the timeline of when that property was developed versus when this language in the code was put into place.
Commissioner Renner, this is Jordan. One of the things about the Gateway Overlay District 2 is its proximity to the interstate. And the property that we're speaking about tonight is actually closer, and that's why it's in the Gateway. So the property on the other side of the road actually isn't in the Gateway because of how far away from the interstate it is. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? With none at this time, I will open it up for public comments or questions on item number 1.
Thank you, Commissioners. Landon Neimiller with Swenson Hagen Engineering, representing Dakota Mini Storage. Yeah, just to add a little bit of more information on what David presented already tonight, we are looking for that special use permit for the shop condo use here, just for those shop condos specifically. And as he mentioned, when it comes to the landscaping and the style of the building, some of the aesthetics parts, that's more of something of a Mandan Architectural Review Committee that we'll be working with them to bring it up to conformance. There is a substantial amount of landscaping that is required when you're in the Gateway Overlay District. There is space on this site, fortunately. As far as uses goes, these are small units. This is not a heavily populated area, so what the developer is anticipating is either storage or sort of the single business user, to where it's a plumber, contractor who is basically it's one person running a one-man operation, and he uses the space for either working out of or just storing his things there. Like you mentioned as well, the property is zoned CC, which is your heavy commercial, light industrial zoning, which does allow for shop condos as a special use, but then, of course, the storage units are just a permitted use. As far as the Bismarck question goes, we've done a fair amount of these in Bismarck as well. They do look at personal storage and condo type business uses as separate things. They consider storage to be more of an industrial use, and the shop condos as a commercial use to be commercial. So it's a little bit of a gray area. It's almost a case-by-case basis, and like David mentioned, it's more about the use really than the style of building when it comes to that. But I can certainly answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions?
Can you tell me how many parking lots you were going to have there again? I heard a number, and I better double check.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner. So we have, right now we have 7 units. It could be up to 9 if that larger building in the north gets split. So we have 9 exterior parking spaces, and then obviously each unit itself has enough room inside of it for company vehicles or any kind of space like that. So that's what we're anticipating.
Thank you.
Questions?
Chair Robinson, so is there any issue with dividing that larger building up into 2, so it actually is condominiums then?
Thank you, Commissioner. No issue on our end. We did submit it as a special use in the event that would happen. What's most likely to happen is that the owner himself will just retain that building himself as a large warehouse for his own property. He manages the storage units in the area, so he may just be using that for his own equipment.
Chairman Robinson, one more question, if I might. Can you share any past efforts to develop this property for any other types of uses or other things that have been explored?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm not aware of anything in the past that has happened. Perhaps it's come before this board before, but I'm not aware of it.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, we're taking comments and questions on item number 1. If we have anybody in the room, or I think we have 1 or 2 calling in. Any questions on item number 1? With none, I'll close the public hearing and return it back to the commission.
Chair Robinson, I can move to recommend approval of a special use permit for Lot 35, Block 1, Marina Bay Edition. No, wrong one. Recommend approval of special use permit for shop condos on Lot 1, Block 1, Cybele subdivision with requirements. The application provides a detailed building and landscaping plan, declares uses for the multi-use shops, and provides a updated plat with the large single-unit multi-use shop divided into at least 2 units and condominium agreement prior to City Commission review of application.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Inveld. Any questions with the motion?
I guess not a question with the motion, but maybe more of a comment or an observation. So I think, Commissioner Gardner, as you were talking about that Bismarck approach, whether for personal or business use, I think there's been a lot of philosophies maybe in economic and community development and land use planning that you would look for what's the highest and best use for this parcel of land being along an interstate interchange such as this one. And so that was part of why I had asked that question. I have recollection of seeing at least one other layout for something else during the time that I was employed with the city of Mandan in business development. I can't recollect as to what exactly that was, but I do believe that one of the obstacles, if I recall correctly, was that you could only get one point in and out of that property along, is it Missouri Drive, and nothing off of Mandan Avenue. And I think whatever that particular use was that was exploring that property needed a point in and a point out for ingress, egress. So, I guess normally I would be pretty reluctant to see a property this close to the interchange being used for storage units and personal use and not a commercial use. That's what it's zoned for. But I do know that there are some challenges to this property because of its proximity to the railroad tracks and some of those other things confining the use of the lot. So I guess I more just wanted to share that as maybe some pros and cons as we evaluate this.
Thank you. Any other comments to the motion? Questions? With none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner,
Yes?
Chair Robinson.
Yes. Motion is passed. And second item, Consider a request for a special use permit for multi-use shops for Lot 35, Block 1, Marina Bay Edition. David?
Again, we've got another request for special use permit for multi-use shops, aka shop condos. This time for Lot 35, Block 1 of the Marina Bay Edition. Let's see. Proposed special use permit would be for the use of personal use, multi-use shops at Lot 35, Block 1, Marina Bay Edition. The address would be 4723 29th Street Southeast. Property is currently zoned CC, Commercial Light Industrial Transition, and is also within the Gateway Overlay District. It's currently used for outdoor storage for boats and trailers immediately adjacent to the marina. Total area is 33 acres. There's existing access through the property from 29th Street Southeast to the Broken Oar Bar immediately to the east. The application plans for 32 condominium lots for personal use shops with 34 provided parking spaces. The application states that the units would be constructed in line with architectural requirements of the Gateway Overlay District. The shop condos would be intended for personal non-commercial use. They would not require additional lighting and would not require off-street parking typical of commercial uses. Again, with the Gateway Overlay District, landscape buffers are required. We calculated that they would need 5 here. However, from the exhibits and kind of renderings, it's kind of hard to tell if they would satisfy that. But again, that would have to go before Mark. We recommend that, if approved by Planning and Zoning Commission, that the applicant would provide a detailed building and landscaping plan prior to City Commission review. Also, we've been made aware of drainage issues on the property affecting neighbors. The property in question is also located within the 100-year floodplain, and staff requests a detailed drainage plan prior to final approval by City Commission. And staff also just recommends that the applicant work with neighbors to the north of the property to jointly address drainage issues in the area that we've kind of been made aware of. Apparently there's a low spot along, let's see if I can flip to it. Apologies, having technical difficulties over here. Just to the properties immediately to the north, kind of have a low spot, drainage issues, which already exists. However, some of the neighbors just expressed concern that whatever might get developed here could kind of exacerbate that problem. And so we just recommend that they would kind of work with neighbors to figure that out as much as possible. Access to the site would continue to be from 29th Street, and it would include rerouting a portion of that street which runs through the property and goes east to the bar. The Park District has also requested an easement through the property to the existing trail on the east side of the property. You might be able to see on our Yeah. So if you can see, for anyone online or see on your screen there, there's a trail running along there adjacent. But residents of the area have just kind of cut their own desire path through a break in the fence to get to that trail. So Park District is just kind of requesting that be formalized with an easement. Adjacent zoning is CC to the east, RM, residential multifamily dwellings to the west, and right-of-way for Bismarck Expressway to the north and open water to the south. And again, the property lies within the 100-year floodplain. Future land use plan designates this area as commercial. Let's see, mention that. So we recommend that approval contingent on the applicant providing detailed landscaping and stormwater drainage plans to the city prior to final approval by City Commission. And our suggested motion is in your packet. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Dave, can you expand a little bit on the drainage? Is it just holding water? Is that what?
It's
going on
my
there?
understanding that properties immediately to the north, and the name of the street is just escaping me right at the second, but I'd pull it up on here, but I would not be able to show you. But those lots have a bit of a low-lying area currently. And so I think the concern was that they don't want to make that any worse. But as far as the property in question, whether it has a proper drainage, we couldn't say. We just don't have enough information.
Street, I think you're looking for is the Pintail Loop. Is that the one?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair Robinson, with the drainage, I don't know how far into this they've gotten, but where, my understanding is they have to be responsible for all of their runoff. Where does it actually run off to? Does it run off just right into Marina Bay, or does it run along the right-of-way of the interstate there and then go into the river from there? How does that part get determined? Is that the two options?
Yeah, so at this time, we don't know how the existing drainage works, essentially. I assume it just goes into the marina, but I couldn't say. And so that's kind of why we wanted that more detailed drainage plan. But at this point, our review is more for the use of the property and not necessarily the drainage, which could be regulated during building permits, that kind of thing.
Any other questions?
Chair Robinson, Dave, it says the Park District is requesting an easement. Is that something that we have to put in the motion for tonight?
Yes, I believe you would, yeah. And if it's not in there, apologies. I must have neglected to put that in there.
Any other questions? Before I open it up?
I can just make a comment, Chairman Robinson. The water, I think what the lot owners are talking about is in between the on-ramp to Expressway and that walking, it would be just to the west of the walking path that you're referencing, those lots. It almost is like a holding pond down there when we get heavy rains.
Yeah.
And it's probably the first, I would say 4 to 5 lots that are right there before you get to McKinsey and then to the east. That's where all the water kind of gets held.
That was kind of our understanding. It was those 3 or 4 lots along Pintail there that were immediately north of the property in question. Those were kind of the ones that were identified as a low spot.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I might be all wet here, but we have a business down there that has a road that kind of goes to it. Will we have a problem there? Or did they say anything about having a problem? That business, the Broken Ore?
Oh, no, I would, as far as what we can tell from like the exhibit that's been provided to us, the road that goes there now would be maintained and just kind of change course a little bit.
Thank you.
Commissioner or Chair Robinson, and if I might, could you maybe show us an aerial view that zooms out just a little bit farther, just so we can get a little bit more context on this property?
So, Commissioner Huber, we're having trouble with the screens tonight. So, I mean, what we have on paper for the packet is what we're going to be able to show on the screen. So, I apologize for that.
May I ask Commissioner Huber, is there a specific part you're looking for?
Really was just trying to get context for the
Okay.
whole area.
Any other questions? With none, at this time, I'll open up for public comment.
Thank you, Chair. Landon Neimler with Swenson Hagen Engineering, representing Marina Bay LLP. Similar to the last project, obviously, we're looking for a special use approval for multi-use shops. A bit different from the last one, though. In this event, we're not looking for commercial use for this area. These shops are intended for storage and personal use for just for the buyers or lessees of the space. Room for obviously boat storage, truck storage, personal hobbies, things like that. But running a commercial project out of these won't be allowed. That'll be part of the covenants that's not allowed within this piece. Additionally, as you mentioned, this road does that existing kind of gravel driveway that leads to the broken ore. That will be improved. We'll have to meet the City of Mandan standards, which actually will require hard surfacing, so either asphalt or concrete to improve that road. Reroute it just a little bit. It's kind of running right through where we're planning on some buildings right now, but effectively creating a concrete path to get to the broken ore. There is no current easement for that road, and there really doesn't seem to be an agreement between the two entities. So we'll get that updated as well, just so that they can be assured that they're always going to have access and they're always going to have ability to get sewer there because their sewer line actually runs through this property as well. Additionally, with the stormwater management plan, that's part of our process, regardless of when it's submitted, and we can certainly get that ready for a city commission level. The city of Mandan has the same policy as Bismarck and Lincoln. Whatever your stormwater runoff is today, it has to be that after construction as well. So if we are required to put in certain ponds on our parcel that can hold that water before it is detained or before it's released into either the bay itself or into the ditch, wherever it's going right now, that's what we'll have to do. So we can certainly provide that stormwater management plan before going forward. Additionally, we've met with the group, with the fire department and everything like that to make sure that all the routes work for them to be able to get trucks in and out of there. The parking is pretty minimal. Like we mentioned, this is for personal use only. It will be limited. Some of it's parallel parking, some of it's front of the house parking, some of it is inside. So there'll be a mix of parking options for the people who actually own this property. Then an association will be created so they can manage all their snow removal, all their maintenance of sewer, water, paving, all the green space, because there will be considerable green space here as well. As Dave mentioned, this is also in the Gateway Overlay District, so there is considerable landscaping that needs to be installed. I think that is really all I had to add to it, but I can certainly answer any questions if you have them.
Questions?
I got one question. A lot of the concern seems to be about the drainage, looking at letters from the neighbors and things like that. Rightfully so. I get that. But would you say that the goal would be to possibly improve the drainage after this site is all said and done, would you say?
Thank you, Commissioner. I mean, right now, this site actually has a low point as well where water sits. If anybody's out there after a rainstorm or in the spring when it's melting, you can see in the middle of this parking lot where the water kind of sits there as well. So, yes, obviously the goal is to improve our drainage. If we are required to work with the neighbors and help them try and get their drainage worked out, we will certainly meet with them to discuss what improvements can be made.
Chair Robinson, you're saying there's 32 condominiums with 34 parking places, and I'm not familiar with this area enough. I don't go down there, but how does that work for the people with the slips there? Are they still going to have access somehow to get into the bay? To those slips there? How is that going to work?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, we still left ample space for people to access the docks. There's quite a bit of room in between where these buildings are going to be and where people who are walking to get onto the dock to access Marina Bay. The actual dock itself for their boats is further south. It's away from this project.
So is there going to be actual, like, hard surface parking lots to give them access to the docks there and the slips?
There wouldn't be additional parking as there is. The boats and trailers that are stored right now, this company actually owns lands elsewhere. When they're storing boats, they'll take those elsewhere. They wouldn't be on this property, but they'll still be able to access the bay itself.
Any other questions?
I can help you clarify a little bit of that one too. So where they're proposing the buildings, about the same size spot is over by where the marina is for the parking. And I literally hardly ever, besides unless there's a fishing tournament, seen overflow parking into where they're talking about doing this. Just so you are.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, is Joan still on? Okay. I know we have one person that wants to comment on item number 2 that's dialed in, so. Joan, if you can hear us, you can state your name for the record. And give
Okay.
us your address, please. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Joan Johnson, Chairman Robinson and commissioners and the staff. I have to compliment you. Rachel and Nancy have been very good to work with and been very good providing information for me. Obviously, this is right across from my home. I don't know if you guys would want something like this in front of you. It's just too bad that Mandan didn't pick this up as the destination. This is a nice river area. It's too bad it couldn't have been developed into something where families could use it, and it's something that looks good for Mandan versus these kind of industrial-looking barns. I do have a question, and I can't see you guys anymore, but I do have a question. I count 30 units on the maps, unless the maps have not been updated, and it was referred to as 32 units that are going to be built here. So I think there's a little discrepancy here in what was submitted. I also am wondering what exactly a shop condo is, to have it right across from my house. In the multi-use shop code information, I'm in 105-1.5 or -5. In 5, it says traditional mixed-use residential and commercial combined multi-use shops shall not be permitted. The declaration of either commercial or accessory to residential shall apply to all units. But I'm just wondering, what is this? What are these things going to be? Are they going to be where you come and get your wheel bearings taken care of? Or are you going to have your boat in there, and then they're where the guys go to hang out when they don't want to be home with their family? They're probably not family oriented, but they're not going to be commercial. They're not going to be a business. What exactly are they, I'm wondering?
Developer, please.
Thank you again, Chair. Yeah, so the shop condo or multi-use shops, whatever we're going to call them today, it's been kind of a moving target, I think, on both sides of the river as to what they are and what they can be used for. So effectively, what you're looking at is more of a high-end storage unit with higher ceilings. So it's somewhere between a warehouse and a strip mall and a storage unit, where you have all these. You have a little better frontage. Obviously, they're nicer looking buildings. They're heated. They tend to have water and sewer, so people can have bathrooms in there. So they're going to have a higher end unit for them to store all their units. Yes, they certainly could hang out there. In this particular project, the businesses wouldn't be allowed. So we're trying to keep that traffic to a minimum, just to basically the people that own these units. As we mentioned before, the area is zoned for that heavy commercial, light industrial use. So one of the oddities of the zoning ordinance as it is today is that a special use permit is required for shop condos, but it wouldn't be required if we wanted to do a very similar thing, just do warehouses or just do storage units as we had in the previous project. So it's just a matter of having that extra step in between, so everybody kind of can see what these kind of buildings are going to look like. We did present some architectural renderings before, so everybody can see the style of these buildings. There's also, of course, Mandan Architectural Review has to approve these as well. So there's an additional step for the aesthetics of the area. And then, of course, the Gateway Overlay District requires additional landscaping between these buildings and the highway, and these buildings and all the residential uses.
Okay, and I would argue that even complementary architecture, these are not going to look like homes. I mean, and why there's no in the elevations? I can't find the heights of any of them on the architectural proposed things, it looks like some of them are going to be very high. Some are 55 feet long, so that'd be like a semi-trailer length. And why would you need, if they're not residential, why would you need a high area like a loft or a two-story building? I'm just so confused as to what these buildings are actually going to be, if you get my drift. And of course, they're going to have security. There's going to be more lighting. There'll be, right now, if people are by the river, they're usually not out there 2 a.m. And if they are, they're very quiet and there's not many of them. Whereas this will be 24 hours. Is this a place where the guys go after the bar closes or come in off the river and hang out? I'm just confused. And then if it's a shop type thing, what, are they going to be dumping oil into the sewer? I mean, is it going to have special disposal? I'm just very confused about what's going to, be right in my front yard. It's
Sure
going to
thing.
be lit, going to have security, I would assume, security cameras pointed at my front yard. So when I'm mowing, I'm on camera or lights and stuff. You just understand, like, would you want this across from your house? Marina Bay is kind of a destination thing for people to come to Mandan. Mandan's not just the strip or industrial anymore. It's a destination area. Does this really fit in with this? It could be used better for something that, like, oh, look at this, Mandan. Let's take our boat over there. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, thank you for the questions. We do have an anticipated building height of 16-foot walls, which is fairly typical for shop condos. A lot of them do have that extra story up there. It's a mezzanine area. It's a hangout area. Whatever it does happen to be there. But like we mentioned, this is not intended for businesses. Yes, this is intended for personal storage and personal use. As I mentioned before, the area is zoned for this. It's heavy commercial and light industrial, which basically means these could be warehouses rather than shop condos. But with the shop condos, you're going to get a little better aesthetic. You're going to have some higher end finishes on them.
Okay. Well, from the pictures, I wouldn't say that's very home-like, but whatever. And then just other things, traffic and stuff, and it's going to affect our home. It's going to affect my property value to have this across the street. The back of a building, which probably be some metal building, and a wall of evergreens that are going to encroach over the road. It's just, I'd like to see the landscaping plan, if we could have some input on that too, if that would be all right.
Any questions for Joan?
I do have one more comment.
Okay.
Across from me on the north side and the berm of the road there, between where my property ends and the asphalt road starts, for the past 30 years, I've taken care of that. That has never been cared for by whoever allegedly owns this. And I've picked up the trash, I've mowed, I've taken care of the trees and spent the money for that. And I wonder, and the woman across the street, Mrs. Otto, same way with them. They've had to pay for everything there. They've never taken care of the property, the owners. It's almost an abandoned property thing. I remember if you let somebody drive on your section line for too long, pretty soon that person's got a right to that section line to drive along there. So I don't know, is it abandoned?
I guess I can't speak to the specific part you're talking about.
Like I say, I'd like an updated map if there's going to be 32 units instead of 30, because what's submitted to you should be what they get permitted for, as far as I'm concerned.
Any other questions, Joan?
Well, what about that? Like if somebody doesn't take care of decorative pilings, they're falling apart, the ropes are coming off.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't there something where if they haven't taken care of it all that time, they really don't have claim to it?
Yeah, that's a legal question we can't answer, but
Okay. Do you think Ms. Oster could get back to us on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you comment on the number of units? In our packet, it is at 30.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It will be 30 units, no more than that.
Okay.
Likely, once we get a little deeper into stormwater design, landscaping design, the number of units likely to stay the same. The buildings may get a bit smaller, though, once we start having to make room for everything to fit in there.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joan.
You did say you're going to create an HOA too, and you guys are creating the covenants and all that other good stuff? Yes.
Correct, yeah, absolutely necessary in a situation this, particularly you're going to have shared roofs, shared wall lines, so the insurance itself obviously would need to be covered together, and then maintenance of everything that's around it.
Okay. And you are going to put in there that it's not business use. Perfect.
That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, again, if there's anybody else that wants to comment or have questions on item number 2.
Hello, Chair Robinson, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Tori Otto. I'll be speaking on behalf of my mom, Ginger Otto, who has the lot directly to the north. Primary concern, I was a builder. I actually worked with Tolman Engineering about 6 to 7 years ago trying to develop this lot for Moritz. One of the huge concerns that was immediate, and that was going to be born of a developer's responsibility, was to ensure that all that stormwater that comes basically from the YMCA all the way to this lot would have to be dealt with in some sort of fashion. So I think I'll just speak on that today, that is the primary concern for Ginger Otto's lot to the north. She did speak with the builder today, and one of the main questions was bringing the lot up to establish a positive drainage going from the north to the south. The builder did say that they do not intend to bring in fill at this time. At the existing road levels, the lot to the north is approximately 2 to 4 feet lower than the road today. And I haven't seen a topography plan or a lot plan if they're going to lower the road, raise the road. But the primary concern would be that there is a lot of fill to bring to that north side of the lot. If you look at the north plan, that building goes directly up against the lot line. I believe where the back of those buildings are would be somewhere between 4 and 6 feet. So in a protest, I would like to know, before we approved off on this, that drainage was going to be positive going from north to south, and all those rooftops, all those driveways, they wouldn't be able to go to the back of that. So the legality of the water ponding up, there's 2 major concerns. Is this going to get more water according to the existing grade today, or are we going to see a massive retaining wall? What's that going to look like to grade it out without a retaining wall, that it actually has good steps from the back of that building to the low level of my mom's lot? So that would be one of our major concerns before we would not protest. One of the other concerns is, does this road stay private or does it become city? I know that's in considerations. I don't think it matters either way, but when it is a city street, we just know there's much more oversight on it and a lot more viewing by you guys. So that's one of our other major questions. And yes, I would agree with Joan that there was a level that my parents have been maintaining, the kind of front corner that is a triangle lot there. Not sure what the walking away from the lot type thing is. I know that land has changed hands over the last 10, 20 years, but they've been maintaining that lot since about 2001 or 2002. So that'd be another question for us as well. But I think the biggest thing is the topography and the north side. Before this was approved off, I'd really like to see what that landscaping plan is before they end up with a large retaining wall, or the developer would need to bring in massive loads of fill that would grade out the back of our yard. That's what we'd be looking for information. Thank you.
And I think you mentioned it, Dave, when you made your presentation. Is this land in the floodplain, or?
Yeah, when we were doing our review, it was in the 100-year floodplain.
Is there intention to bring that up?
Thank you again, Chair. Yes, so the intent with the 100-year floodplain, obviously for insurance purposes and City of Mandan ordinances, we do need to bring that finished floor up. We're a little early into it right now. We're looking at the use at this point. As we mentioned before, stormwater management plan is going to be a critical part of that. Before we go to City Commission, we'll need that per the recommendation in here. If we get past tonight's event, we'll get a little deeper into those details of what the landscaping is going to need to be and what the retaining wall is going to need to be if there is one, and how much fill would actually need to be brought into this site.
And this is a curiosity question. Do you know, can you drain that toward the bay, into the bay?
A portion of it can be drained towards the bay, portions of it go to the ditch, and portions of it right now just sit right in the middle of the lot and don't go anywhere but infiltrate throughout the year.
And I asked the question from a perspective of, I serve on another board that works with the Corps a lot, and will they allow you to drain that stormwater into the bay without some type of application?
The drainage right now goes towards the bay as it is. There'll certainly have to be further discussions with them, though, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Again, comments or questions on item number 2? Last call on item number 2.
Chad Knutson, I'm on 29th Street. I just want clarification. So they are shop condos. They're going to have sewer and water to every unit. They're no business, but they can be a residence. Okay? That's all I'm trying to figure out is, are we getting another 30 people living in the area? So that's all I have.
Chair Robinson, the City of Mandan has ordinance against any shop condo, residential, living use. So there is no livability. I know that line gets blurred with a bathroom, but that's not a definition of a house. So it's for personal use if you need to use the restroom. So none of these will ever have a residential livability to them in the zoning.
Exactly that.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Any other questions, comments? Again, last call. And with none, I'll close public hearing and return it back to the commission.
Chairman, just since I heard it and I want a little more clarity, and I'm being nosy too, I guess, is that going to be a private road or a public road?
Private.
You're referring to the road that would go through? It's my understanding that would be a public road.
Sorry, yeah, so as far as the road goes, it's a private road today. It's a private driveway serving the broken ore. It will still be a private road in the sense that it's privately maintained and things like that, but obviously it's open for the public to use to get to the broken ore.
Chair Robinson, another question, if I might.
Yes.
So term shop condo, is it the developer's intent to sell these to the individual owners or to retain ownership and rent these units out? And realizing that even if it's the latter, sometimes that changes, but just want to understand what the intent is and how they're being positioned.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner. The goal is to sell. Of course, that's usually sort of the first idea. Not everyone wants to buy their units, so obviously we'd like to, there'd be some that are reserved for leasing, but the intent is to sell the individual units, and they would become members of the HOA that maintains.
May I continue?
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the envisioned use of these?
Certainly. So the intent, obviously, there's boat and trailer storage there today. The intent would be, the primary use would be storage for the people that are interested in having a storage unit there that they can put their boat in, their RV, truck, whatever it is that they're planning on having there. Then it's for personal use, and I think that's where maybe some of the confusion is. It's your hobby area to hang out in, to work on whatever projects you're working on, but it's, like I said, it's not for commercial use. They won't be selling products out of here. It won't have retail storefronts or anything like that.
I guess just maybe more of a comment than a question. Again, we know that there can be regulations, but enforcement of those becomes more problematic when you have these, you don't have a master landlord, then you'd maybe have a HOA controlling this, but otherwise it does strike me that there is the potential that people might operate businesses out of those and try to reside in them as well. And so it would seem that the parking, to just say it's for personal use and that you don't need extra parking, I suggest, would think, could see that becoming problematic for the area as well. And then just have general concerns about it abutting residential, as we've had with some prior projects.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly issues around town as far as what becomes storage and what becomes personal use and what becomes a commercial use. I think the Mandan Architectural Review Board and this board has tightened that up a little bit. It seems like over the last few projects where this has come across, because you're running across it as well. And that's why the need for declaring what the uses are up front. That way the city actually has some teeth to say, oh, this is specifically said what you are going to be using in here. Here's the parking you're providing. If you're doing this commercial entity in here, it's not allowable.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Item number 2.
Maybe just one question, Dave. We talked about an easement in the motion. Do you have a little bit of language you want it in there?
Yeah, it would be an easement for the use of the park district to connect to their trail.
I would inject it right after stormwater drainage plans. Or to the city after that phrase, somewhere in there. Does the commission have any other questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I probably just have a couple things that are just going through my mind. So the filling of the lots behind the properties. So Mr. Otto, maybe this is maybe more for you, I'm just wondering if you're expecting or if you're anticipating that the developer, were you hoping, ideal world, that he puts filter back where you're at so that it could drain towards the road then? Is that kind of what you're thinking? To solve the problem of the water behind your...
Yep, Chair Robinson, Commissioners, Mayor. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Obviously, we don't oppose a development and hoping for Mandan to grow. The primary concern about the whole intent is just it does have the proper drainage. Their site isn't draining even more onto my mom's site, and just to ensure that it's built right the first time. I just know that it is a very low area, and it's going to require quite a bit of work. So I don't know if they're going to try to get away with the least amount possible. If I was developing it, that's what I would be doing. But of course, we're looking for the right long-term fix that does help the whole neighborhood with all that rainwater that does come from the YMCA. It is pretty substantial, so that's all we're looking for, is some involvement. And
has there been over the years, just as it's been like that since the beginning of when your mom lived there, right?
Yeah, and that's been since 2001, but obviously the YMCA and those things weren't there at those times. If you go through that neighborhood now, you will see ditches along the expressway that they're well overrun. I know they control their stormwater management at the YMCA with their retaining pond, but it's just gotten developed, and it's getting more and more, it seems, and maybe just a little bit more moisture, but it is a very decent amount of precipitation and stuff. So I guess as I would look at this, it'd be right to fix it right the first time, and especially not to have something go wrong here. So that's the only reason we're protesting at this point, until I can feel comfortable that it was done right for the long term.
Let me ask you this. As a developer, since they do have to bring it up to grade for flood standards, they're kind of in charge of providing direction to that water, are they not?
Correct. And if I remember right, I think there's a provision where your building has to be so far above a road. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm hoping, if these buildings got to be even another foot above the road, if this is a public street, well, that pushes them up even higher. Now we're bringing in more fill. The more fill that goes on this north lot with the north buildings lowers my parents' yard to the back. So we're creeping even higher and lower. So that becomes a retaining wall issue. Does it become grading more dirt into my parents' lot to be able to grade it out nice and make it usable and maintainable? Just a lot of big questions there. So that's all we're looking for.
Yeah, I'd hate to see us chase water after the fact. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the other question I had was like the livability part. I mean, I'm just wondering like how you could build any shop condo with a bathroom, and I mean, you're always going to run that risk. I guess the one question I have for Jordan is that something that we could, what kind of teeth do you have if someone decides to live in it? I mean, we do call the cops and they kick them out, or do you? Because at this point, if we give our blessing, right? That's always the curse up here. It's like we give the blessing and then everything's forever in stone. Kind of curious how that works on the other end.
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Gardner. I think one of the things that we look at is the zoning use of that. In the past, we've had a few that have been. I know there's different approaches to this livability section of this. Obviously, at this time, we don't have that. And yeah, the enforcement of it, I can tell you that there will be more coming for the most recent projects we've had that you have all seen that have been coming. And I think one of our teeth, per se, is this special use permit that is required to continue with uses, and what we have asked for is up front, what are these uses? What are you allowing? And we need to follow that. The other side of it, I know Commissioner McLean brought it up, but we do, when the building permit is approved and brought in, the HOA documents, and I know we saw this with the last one as well, very significant document that gets brought alongside of these projects, as far as, hey, these are the rules that we play by and what is allowed. So we use those as well in that determination, and to use that as teeth, I guess, if that's what you're looking for.
Then, Jordan, my last question is on the easement part. Was that a heavy lift for the developer to grant that, or was that pretty simple, pretty easy?
We'll let Landon take that.
It's the only exercise I get all week. Thanks, Commissioner. Yeah, the easement for the park district is it's a non-factor really here. The trail that they have is basically in the ditch. This is basically just access to get them through here. There's a little area you can see where people have been using and just created a trail system basically through this area. We have no intent to block it. We can certainly grant an easement so that remains open.
You're basically just talking about a sidewalk width.
To save you a few extra steps, I got a question. Being involved in a few HOAs in the past, what is the intent, or how do you plan to structure that, at least to begin with? Is there going to be a couple leases that are involved in that too, or is it going to be a developer-based HOA?
Thank you. So yeah, initially, obviously, it would only be developer-based, or there would be no units to sell unless they do any pre-sales. But even initially, it would have to be the developer only, and then at a certain point, my assumption is that once a majority of the units are sold, that it would be turned over to the HOA to manage themselves. They would have a board that they would have to elect.
Thank you.
I can just comment a little bit on that HOA thing. I think the reason why I asked the question is Jordan's right. Your HOA docs are very important because that's how you can kind of get some teeth in there, and then it's just as good. Then you have to have a good HOA to enforce said documents. So usually, typically in a project like this, the developer will take ownership of the HOA until it gets over 50% sold, and then they'll create the HOA, and I'm assuming you'll have in the HOA docs or your covenants how many members you're going to have on said HOA board and all that other good stuff. So Jordan's right on this is very important document that will help us enforce a lot of things.
That was the basis of my question too, because they're going to help police overall that how those units are run too, which is going to help everybody in here.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Obviously, they'll have a substantial financial interest in themselves. They're going to want an HOA that they can verify that their neighbors are going to maintain their property as well and contribute to the overall upkeep.
Well, and that, I guess the HOA doesn't give me a lot of comfort for the neighbors. I mean, because it's being run by the guard dogs. I guess. I mean, just not that I'm against the project, but I'm just thinking that, I mean, the HOA doesn't give me a ton of comfort. What gives me comfort is like what happens if we get a bum down there that is living down there. I mean, maybe I'm just asking a question that can't be answered with certainty. Maybe it's just not, but I'm just kind of curious if that was my original question to Jordan, like what happens on, at 3:00 in the morning on the cop side when we say yes to something. I'm just kind of curious. Not that I'm want to stir up anything. I just want to know worst case scenario. I mean, they've gotten, I mean, they can go back and point to the zoning and the requirements, and the HOA doesn't give me any comfort. It's what the city. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. No, thank you, Commissioner. It's a fair point, and maybe the bathroom thing throws people off like that, but it's really no different than somebody has an office complex or any other commercial building. There's generally, there's plumbing in there that somebody could just camp out, and that's where they stay. It's just a matter of this is what we're trying with this project. We don't anticipate anybody who's going to want to live down here.
I think this is just a unique project because it's right across the street from these homeowners. And I think I will take that into consideration with these shop condos right across the street. Because if they can't enforce those HOA documents, I think it's going to affect the resale of that neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Chairman Robinson, I guess, I'm sorry. I didn't see there was a question.
Chair Robinson, Mayor and Commissioners, I built a 10-unit housing complex with a private road, and I paid for the HOA, got it established, handed it off, and they walked away from the HOA. The only thing it impacted is their resale value having a non-operating HOA. They didn't create the board. They didn't pay their taxes. I would highly consider you guys to challenge yourselves and come up with what the city could do. Because as a developer, I created it, paid for it, had it established, handed it off after 50%, and the owners just walked away from it. So how would you manage that kind of scenario? That's a worst case. But also it's your responsibility as you're planning zoning and permitting as a city. What would you do? Just good question.
I still don't think that we can just condemn every shop condo just because it has a bathroom in it, because it could be potentially livable. Maybe my question is more philosophical than helpful. I'm still in favor of the project, but I'm just kind of curious how that works, just to be consistent with what we've done in the last couple of years. This is a commercial area. It's zone commercial. I don't know. I didn't buy in a house or build in a house next to a commercial area, so I haven't walked a mile in those shoes, but that's why I didn't. So.
Okay, it is in the commission's hands right now.
Can I ask one real quick question? And I'm kind of going back to the storm drainage. How complicated is, I'm asking Chair Robinson probably more than anybody else, but how complicated is this storm drainage problem here? Are we going to see a lot of problems down here or not? That's
I don't
my
know.
question.
I mean, if you can straight line it to the bay without a ton of regulatory interaction, easy, I would think. If I'm bringing these buildings up to grade and I'm in charge of the dirt and moving it around and creating the new lay of the land, I don't think it would be super difficult. I do, I get that lot on the other side of the road. Worst case scenario, do you have to drop a culvert? I don't know. That would be probably the only step. Are we ready for a motion?
Just to maybe get it moving along so we can get discussion, see where we're at, I can make a motion. I move to recommend approval of the special use permit for Lot 35, Block 1, Marina Bay Edition, contingent on the requirements that the applicant provide detailed landscaping and stormwater drainage plans and an easement for Parks and Rec for a walking path to the city prior to final approval by City Commission.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Gardner. Motion is to recommend approval of the special use permit for Lot 35, Block 1, Marina Bay Edition, contingent on requirements that the applicant provide detailed landscaping and stormwater drainage plans to the city and provide recreation path easement to parks for user access, basically. Is that prior to the final approval by City Commission? Questions on the motion?
Chair Robinson, I don't have a question on the motion, but I'm just going to express concern again about the proximity of this to single-family residential and just the inconsistency in land uses. We have a property that's zoned commercial, but then are told that the shop condos will be only for personal use, and so it doesn't strike me as something that's benefiting the surrounding neighborhood, and I see it as having a detrimental effect on the surrounding properties. So I will be voting in opposition to this motion.
Thank you. Any other comments? None. Roll call vote, please.
Hold on.
Oh, wait.
Commissioner Huber, you used to work for the city, and I want to know have you seen any other plans down there for commercial for that piece of property?
I can say that I have not ever seen any plans for this particular property, but it always seems for everything there's a time and a place, and if there's interest in developing this, it seems like there could be some other avenues that could be considered.
Thank you.
Any other comments? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Commissioner Huber,
No.
Commissioner Lang,
No.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. Ten one.
10-2.
10-2. Oh, correct. Yeas have it, 10-2. Third item for public hearing, consider a request for a preliminary plat to be named 1884 edition. David?
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, this would be a request for preliminary plat to be named the 1884 edition. Just for some background, the applicant met with staff at a pre-planning meeting on February 5th. Some concerns were discussed there regarding master planning of this property. In light of the recent call edition final plat, which was approved October 7, 2025 at City Commission. The master plan as part of that call edition final plat was approved by City Commission on the August 19th meeting, 2025. So this would be the preliminary plat for the 1884 edition, located in the southeast quarter of Section 32, within the ETJ. It's previously partially platted as Lot A and has 6 existing lots, and I won't list all of those here for you. However, the total area to be platted is 15.3 acres, with 4 lots in Block 1 and 3 lots in Block 2. If you're able to see that in your packet there, it's kind of a busy plat. Let's see. Lot 2 of Block 2 has a long panhandle kind of shape there that connects it to 22nd and a half Avenue. And Lot 3 of Block 2, which is on the left side of the plat there, is a non-conforming remnant. And then Lot 3 of Block 1 has access to what is being called Call Street, kind of on the top edge of the plat there. That right of way they've labeled that as Call Street. Also via a long corridor, kind of the panhandle thing again. So the currently access is via 22nd and a half Avenue and a proposed 66-foot wide access easement, which would run across the top there. Again, that would be that Call Street. And there was a bit of confusion as to the status, I guess you could say, of 22nd and a half Avenue, which had portions of it platted in 1994, even though it was already at that time public right-of-way. Some of your adjacent zoning, agricultural on north, east, south, and west. Future land use plan designates this area as public land, and it's shown outside the 2030 growth boundary. The very low density residential nature of the development should be in line with that. Let's see, some comments and concerns. Preliminary plat appears to protect access to existing and proposed lots. We request that the owner and applicant develop an updated master plan prior to submission of a final plat. Lot 3 of Block 2 is kind of an odd configuration and may not be able to be developed. And the preliminary plat does not show the existing access easement to the existing Lot 2 of Call Irie Addition, which should be maintained and shown on the final plat. So that's kind of missing from your plat there. Yeah, in general, we kind of felt that as far as like the surrounding land uses and land owners, that this plat would probably just kind of not be an issue. There's, state-owned land nearby, and land immediately to the south is also owned by a call trust. So we wouldn't foresee kind of any issues coming from something like this. However, with that said, we do recommend kind of an updated master plan just to see how the whole property could be developed versus just kind of a bit piecemeal, I guess you could say. So with that, we recommend approval of the preliminary plat contingent on an updated master plan with our suggested motion in your packet, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for Dave?
I'm just confused. Did you say that one parcel will be landlocked?
No,
Access?
there would not be any landlocked parcels. From what we can tell on the plat, it appears that everything should have access.
But one would be non-conforming.
Yes.
And that means that you can't get a building permit? Is that what you mean by?
It could mean that it wouldn't be able to be developed. It kind of depends, though. It's just kind of an odd strip, so there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's just that it's kind of unusual, I guess you could say.
Any other questions? With none, at this time, I'll open it up for public comments or questions. Item number 3. Taking comments on 1884 edition. Second call. And last call. I'll close the public comments and return it back to the commission.
Chair Robinson, I know it looks a little confusing on the way it's laid out right now, but it's a lot better than the way it sits right now, where there's literally lots in the middle of agricultural land. So, I mean, this definitely is a step forward, making it more user-friendly in the future. And with that, I would move to recommend approval of the 1884 edition preliminary plat contingent on an updated master plan.
I'd second that.
Motion by Commissioner Renner, second by Commissioner Huber. Motion is to recommend approval of the 1884 edition preliminary plat contingent on an updated master plan. Questions? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Horn?
Yes.
Commissioner Huber?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Mutter? Mayor Freilich?
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld?
Yes.
Commissioner McLean?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner?
Yes.
Commissioner Renner?
Yes.
Chair Robinson?
Yes. And motion is approved. Any other business?
Chair Robinson and Commissioners, I just want to thank those that were able to attend our working session that we had at the library. I know Dave was obviously presenting there along with Rachel, and had some really good comment, really good discussion with not only you, but members of the public too for that. So I know their team is going to continue working on and working through the discussion that we had for that, and hopefully in the next couple months get a new zoning code ready for you guys here. So thanks again. It was great.
Thank you. With no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.